money in camp. So
was this different than the way some of your competitors were, spending in those days or investing in those days?
Yeah, I think the data center industry, the only competitor that spent a lot and went bust was Enron. Enron had set up, the Enron story. Enron had set up a huge data center in Bombay at that time. Many of you don't know because before they signed any customers, they went bust. But they had spent, I think, 75 crores on a single data center. We spent 18 crores on our first, 16 or 18 crores on our first. So they were like 5 times bigger. And so we were really worried about, Enron just buying their way. But they were not prudent fiscally. They wasted a lot of money, and not only in India but also globally. And that company went bust. The others in our space, I don't think anybody else went bust because the others were all telcos who are deep pockets. So Tata's, Reliance, Airtel. Right? Airtel was a later entrant in this field. The one that's struggling, there's one struggling now, but I wouldn't name him. But I don't think it's because of overspending. This may be because of cooking up books or whatever. So if any of you follow the stock market, you know the player I'm talking about. But in that time, a lot of our customers went bust because they were not fiscally prudent. Dhanesh was very, very, a little, very conservative. And since he managed our finances at that time, we ended up surviving that downturn.
So I guess what is important here is, you may be making profits, but you need to be careful about how you're making the investments. You don't, jump the gun and bet too much on scaling, growing, where it may actually be a setback if the market does tank, like it did happen when everything was rosy and nothing could go wrong in the world, right? And then suddenly.
Yeah, in 2008, right? Yeah. Having said that, just to allude to what you just mentioned, 2005 we could have started investing back because the market was very slow in 2001 and took a while to come back. But by 2005 things had started looking good, and Tata's and Reliance invested in data centers in other cities and they sold them out, and we were stuck with a single data center. And actually, they got a lead over us in terms of size because we were still conservative. We had not yet we had not yet looked at raising money to build more data centers. And there was a little bit of a conflict between me and Dhanesh at that time. He had gone through a tough time and possibly didn't want to be as I wanted to now take risks again, and maybe we had a little bit of conflict at that time, and that was when I took my toughest decision, which was actually the board had prompted it, but then I ended up backing them up, and we parted ways. So it was not very. It was amicable in the sense. Personally, it was fine. Dhanesh and I are very good friends, but obviously he had also been part of the company right from the beginning, and he was the number 2 person in charge. He was the chief operating officer, but I had to ask him to go. So that was, I still feel that was the most challenging piece of whatever I've done so far. And never, till then I don't think I'd asked any employee to go. So asking my partner to go was a very, very difficult decision.
Yeah, these kind of struggles and crises is sort of part and parcel of the whole entrepreneurial journey, right? Any other experiences you can share with us? About your struggles through the period?
Yeah, I think the two main, one was 2001, September 11th, when one of our co-founders, so now out of the 4 founding team, there are only 2 of us. Almost all the top first 20 employees are with us, but amongst the founders, out of the 4, 2 are with us. One was the systems person who was brilliant, one of the best systems guys I've come across. He left when he thought that he lost faith when September 11th happened. So that was his last day. That's when he decided, look, this is not going anywhere. We were down to, as I said, last 20-25 lakhs. So he left. So that was very challenging because suddenly we were a small team and there was an entire area that he was handling. But that's when we came across a gentleman who's based out of Pune, who's my VP of engineering today. His name is, I don't know if he's here in the audience, Mule, right at the back. Mule is actually the architect of our cloud offering. And he stepped in, he was working for Data Pro. and we were fortunate to get him, and he filled in the shoes of. So he's actually as good as a co-founder of Netmagic, because when Ashok left, he stepped in his shoes and didn't. I thought Ashok was irreplaceable till I met Mule, and so Mule is still with us. And actually, today Netmagic gets a lot of name on cloud. It's all his brainchild and his work. It's done out of. He's based in his office. Our office that does this automation is in Port Road in Pune, and Mule is based in Pune itself, and he's got a team of 35 people that has written an entire orchestration layer for cloud. So that that was a tough call, and but Mule made it this thing successful. And the other tough call was the Dhanesh's, who was our co-founder, and he was the chief operating officer. And I didn't replace him till 2010, when I met another brilliant person who was my peer at Reliance. So he set up Reliance's data center business, named Sunil Gupta. He's with us. He's our chief operating officer now. And once Danesh left, because there were, see, one of the biggest mistakes, one of the learnings from all this was, we had two captains in the team. I think that's a big mistake. You should always have one captain. So even though I was the CEO and Danesh was COO, to the employees, we were both there was no clear number one. We were both equal, and you could go to either of us to get anything approved. And often employees played one against the other. And when they said this guy is not approving, they went to the other guy, and then that created a lot of misunderstanding between us. And I think Danesh threatened to resign 3-4 times, and finally, one fine day I just said, okay, board was also after me to make changes in the organization, because they felt that here was an opportunity where you could grow the company and we're not investing. In fact, one of the leading, it was Sequoia or somebody who came to us and said, why the hell are you not investing? And at that time I wasn't sure, because I had so much on my mind that would Danesh approve the investment or not, and things like that. So finally I took that call.
So was there a reason for you both, or for him to think that you should not scale, or?
No, it was just the risk, the risk-taking ability that we had when we started, and kind of because of what we went through in 2001, that went down, I think, in his mind. And I think he was also going through some personal strife. But eventually, right, eventually we took that tough decision. After 2006 is really when the company took off. Whether it was the right decision or wrong decision, there was nothing wrong that Danesh ever did. He was principally always correct. And but sometimes when you get a gut feel, you just have to go with it. And what we found was we started over-analyzing every investment, and then that would never happen. So that's why we took that call.
Yeah, these kind of decisions, I'm sure, are always very difficult to make, right? So, and while we are talking of struggles and going through different crises, etc., it's interesting how a crisis, external crisis, can also affect you in some very weird positive way. I think there was this one incident in the
the September 11th, 2001, September 11th, World Trade Center. We had taken these IPLC circuits from BSNL for providing internet access overseas, and these used to cost something like 1.6 crores for 2 Mbps at that time, right? BSNL had launched a service which was at 1/4 the price, but since there was a long-term contract, we could not move on. We could not come out of it. At that time we didn't have this 1-month termination or 3-month termination clauses. When September 11th happened, it so happened that IPLCs actually went through World Trade Center. So it was a force majeure event, but the service went down. So BSNL offered to replace that using the cheaper service, which was at 1/4 the cost. And that time, as I said, we were down to the last 25 lakhs. So that cash flow saving of almost a crore and a half per annum, or maybe 2-3 crores per annum, was huge for us. So it actually, I shouldn't say it, but it actually was a blessing in disguise for us.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It definitely has been a very tragic event which really changed things for the entire world. But here is an example of how luck can really play
We were
a big part
definitely,
in the.
we were lucky, as I said, even our two funding events happened just before crashes. So